utterly.
It looked to me like people had, you know, their pride had been taken away from them. What I'd hope is not necessarily to be a role model, say do as I do or be like me, but what I'd like to hope is to have a principle like, say for example, Roger Bannister and the 4-minute mile. So once he'd achieved the 4-minute mile, other people believed they could do it.
As South Africa's blacks struggle to keep up with Tony and his 4-minute mile, at least they can console themselves with the thought that they do have a future in the new South Africa. For the whites, it's beginning to look like one nation, many colours, except theirs. South Africa's Liberals always saw apartheid as a black and white issue. It simply had to be ended. And so they too marched and fought and campaigned and very successfully brought about their own downfall. From top dog to underdog in one peaceful revolution. And, although it might have done wonders for their state of mind, it's done very little for their status. Colin Bernstein is a paediatrician who believes that the white South African male is becoming an endangered species.
His role has been one such that he's been in power, especially amongst the Afrikaners and to a less degree the English economically, Afrikaners politically. And slowly they're getting very scared because their position is being challenged.
To redress years of apartheid, the government has introduced an affirmative action policy, which means that young white males now come fourth, not first, in the pecking order for any job, with the result that they're now queuing up to buy one-way tickets out.
Out of my medical class, I'd say 40% of the class, approximately, would be over there this year. I'm talking about England, that's where it's easiest to work. And 40% would be going next year, myself included. It's a beautiful country, this. It's got a lot to offer. I will miss the country.
People who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attack.
Until most of the residents were expelled so the whites could get hold of the prime city centre real estate, District 6 was the cultural centre of a vibrant coloured community. In many parts of the world, the term coloured, deployed by those too coy to say black, has gone out of fashion. But in South Africa, it means something very specific. A mixed-race community numbering 4 million in the Cape and a testament to the early settlers' hypocrisy. While they preached racial purity, they obviously didn't rule out a little fraternisation with the natives. In a country obsessed with pigmentation, the coloureds were in a no-win situation. Nicknamed God's stepchildren, neither black or white enough, they were piggy in the middle.
The willful destruction of whole communities like District 6 broke the spirit and identity of the people. The devastating social effects of the upheaval are still being felt today. Even in Bokaap, which largely escaped the policy, disaffected youth find society easier to deal with through a drug-induced haze.
This It's not so long since signs like this weren't just museum pieces, and one can't help automatically despising every white person here for their role in sustaining apartheid. But in reality, 70% of whites voted to end the system and hated it just as much as everyone else. So, tear down the signs, desegregate society, and everyone of every colour will rush to make South Africa look like a happy Benetton ad come to life, won't they? Well, perhaps not. The club scene is one place where you'd expect to see the united colours of South Africa doing their stuff, but it seems the party people are suffering from an apartheid hangover. The Gal claims to be Durban's first multiracial club, but its clientele is still mainly coloured and Indian.
It was unfortunate that non-white people were not allowed to go to certain white clubs, and white people were afraid to come to non-white clubs because they felt very insecure. And the unfortunate part about it is that certain people in Durban, certain club owners, still try to maintain that sort of status quo.
Meanwhile, just down the road, AD's only seems to attract white club goers. Perhaps paying £4 to listen to House all night doesn't appeal to everyone's taste. Or pocket.
Joined the growing list of weekend break destinations, and now you can fly here direct from the UK. This old Soviet city has been dubbed Central Asia's most cosmopolitan. So I've come here not only to explore Almaty itself, but to venture out into the surrounding mountains and wide open countryside. The 9th largest country in the world, Kazakhstan is bordered by China to the east and Russia to the north. I landed in the former capital, Almaty, and trekked out to the foothills of the Tian Shan Mountains. You know, I never realized just how vast Kazakhstan is, but then I guess like a lot of people, I never really knew much about Kazakhstan full stop. And the first thing that really strikes me about this place is the variety of different faces of different nationalities. And in the short time that I've been here in Almaty, I've become completely obsessed with trying to guess where everyone comes from. With its position on the old Silk Route and a place in Russian history, the city does have a unique diversity, with Asian, Oriental and European influences. The latest arrivals are 5-star hotels aimed at corporate visitors. But my base was the Hotel Otra, once the pride of the Soviet Tourist Board, but now serving 500 rooms with its own restaurants and English-speaking staff. Beyond the confines of the hotel, you'll find that although the Kazakh language is spoken in Almaty, Russian is still the common tongue, and with a few key phrases to hand, it's possible to find your own way round. Guided largely by my stomach, I headed for Almaty's Green Bazaar. It's easy to get to as nearly all the city's buses go there. Inside, you'll find a range of produce that scores on its presentation as well as its variety. Spasiba. Lovely. These are really crunchy pears, but they taste very sweet. Okay, 2. As tempting as it might look to just take a bite, bring a knife with you to do a bit of peeling, because the water here is very dodgy. Spasiba. Nice. Bigger. I love gherkins. Yeah, that's good. This is this fermented mare's milk, I think, which I actually hate the sound of, but... Strong. They're really big on this stuff here. They do everything with their horses. They ride them, they eat them, they drink them. 200. 200, cool. For karaoke singers, all roads lead to Gorky Park. Open-air karaoke is the latest craze here. But fortunately, not the only park life. If you come across this guidebook and all the pages fall out, buy another one. But no, you should actually try and find one, even though it's not particularly well bound, because it's very funny. And also it's very honest. You know, like most guidebooks are always trying to sell you something or push you in a particular direction. Well, this one's very objective. And there are a couple of classic things in here that I've got to read you. Medical care. Almaty is a new city to you with many surprising and probably strange things. As for your health, try to stock up with health and don't fall ill. You can find the book in all hotels, and it really does give good advice on what to do, including where to find the better checkmates. Do you speak English?
No.
No. Me, no Kazakh. You know, you can... Oh, I can't do that.
Czech.
Yeah, that's Czech. That is serious Czech. Okay, I'm gonna go there. Oh no! I've lost. Well done. During the summer months in Kazakhstan, the games and the evenings never seem to end. It doesn't get dark here till 10:30. But with street lighting at a minimum in the city, it's best to follow in the urban tradition and avoid parks when night eventually falls. Almaty isn't exactly a souvenir hunter's paradise because there aren't actually that many shops. You could try the shop at the State Museum, or alternatively, for a half-hour taxi ride to Sheber Al, you can visit a real artisans community. You know, it is worth making the effort to come up here because you're able to get all the local handicraft basically at half price. You'd have to pay twice as much down in town. Kazakhstan is particularly famous for its carpets, but you can get loads of other stuff, including some really beautiful wooden instruments. I'm not quite sure how you play them, but they're really well made. Some wild whips. Wouldn't like to be on the end of that. How much is this, please? 2,000. 2,000. Bargain.
Most people who come here head up into the Tian Shan Mountains. Obviously, they're on your doorstep, but if you don't fancy trekking or climbing, then, like me, you can hop in a helicopter and it gives you a bird's-eye view of both Almaty and all the mountains around it. And it looks pretty fab from up here.